The storm came down from the mountains like a living beast, devouring the light and turning the sky the color of bruised iron. Wind howled through the pines and clawed at the walls of the cabin, and the woman inside drew her shawl tighter around her shoulders. The fire hissed in protest as the gusts forced smoke down the chimney, but she did not move away from it. Her eyes stayed fixed on the door, on the strip of light between its boards that pulsed with each flicker of lightning. They would come soon. She had known that since morning, when she saw the dark shapes moving down the ridge, their silhouettes heavy with rifles and intent. The mountain men. Traders, hunters, drifters, call them what one would, but their kind came seldom to the valley and never without purpose. Her name was Alara, and the cabin had been her husband's before the avalanche took him 3 winters ago. Since then, she had lived alone at the edge of the wilderness, tending goats and mending her own traps, speaking little to anyone. The few who passed her trail said she had eyes like the frozen lake, beautiful but treacherous, hiding depths no one should test. Now she sat listening to the roar of the wind, and to the distant echo of men's voices carried through it. They were shouting to one another as they neared, their words half lost in the storm. She could make out laughter, the kind born not of joy but of rough nerves and whiskey courage. When the knock came, it was not a knock at all but a heavy blow that rattled the door in its frame. Alara. The voice was low and rough. You in there, woman? She rose, her joints stiff from the cold, and moved to the door. I am, she said. Who calls? Open up. It's Redden and Burke. Storm's bad, and we're half froze. She hesitated. She remembered those names, men who trapped in the northern peaks, rumored to have killed more than wolves. Yet the wind screamed through the cracks, and she knew a body could freeze to death in less than an hour out there. Alara lifted the latch. The door swung inward, letting in a blast of snow and 2 men wrapped in furs crusted white. They filled the small space like bears, stamping their boots and cursing at the cold. The taller one, Redden, had a beard streaked with gray and eyes sharp as flint. The other, Burke, was younger, heavy-shouldered and sullen. Much obliged, Redden said, shaking snow from his coat. Didn't think we'd find shelter this side of the pass. Alara closed the door and dropped the bar. The storm won't ease till morning, she said. You can dry yourselves by the fire. There's broth on the stove. They thanked her with nods, not words, and crowded near the hearth. For a while there was only the crackle of flames and the hiss of melting snow. Alara poured broth into tin cups and set them on the table. The men drank greedily, steam fogging their faces. When they were done, Redden leaned back and studied her. You live out here alone still? I do. Not afraid. Of what? He smiled without warmth. Things that walk in these woods. There's little that walks here that I cannot face, she said. Burke snorted. Bold talk from a widow. Alara met his stare without flinching. I was bold before I was widowed. The younger man looked away first, muttering something under his breath. Redden laughed, the sound low and dry. Seems you've got spirit, Alara. That'll serve you well. She did not ask what he meant. Instead, she took up her spindle and sat near the fire, the rhythm of the wheel steadying her thoughts. The 2 men whispered now and then, words she could not catch. Once, Burke's eyes slid toward her, and Redden's hand came down on his shoulder in warning. Hours passed. The storm raged on. When at last Alara rose to add wood to the fire, Redden stood too. You've shown us kindness, he said. But we've come for more than shelter. Her hand froze on the log. More. He stepped closer. We followed a trail from the ridge, a man's trail. Fresh. It led near your cabin before the snow covered it. You seen anyone pass this way? No one, she said. You sure? I see tracks every day. Fox, hare, elk. None made by men. Redin studied her face, searching for the tremor in her voice that wasn't there. Then he nodded slowly. There's a bounty on the man we're after. Stole from the trading post downriver coin, powder, maybe blood too. We figure he'd hole up where folks don't ask questions. Alara's pulse quickened. You think he's here? I think he could be close. Maybe closer than you think. The door creaked then, though no wind touched it. All three turned. From the corner shadows, a figure emerged, a man wrapped in a tattered coat, his face gaunt and hollow-eyed. He had been there all along, hidden behind the stacked wood near the back wall. Alara did not move. The mountain men reached for their rifles, but the stranger lifted a hand. Easy, he rasped. I'm not armed. Liar. Burke growled. Let him speak, Redin said. Who are you? Name's Tomas. I came down from the ridge 2 nights ago. Lost my pack, near starved. The woman took pity on me. Alara said nothing. So it's true, Redin murmured. You've been hiding him. He would have died, she said. And that should matter to us. Burke snapped. Redin's eyes gleamed. Maybe it should. Depends on what he can offer. Tomas swayed, exhaustion heavy in every motion. I can offer nothing but truth. I stole no gold, no blood. Only food. I was starving. Food from the wrong men, Redin said. They'll pay for your head, and ours for bringing it. Burke lifted his rifle, but Redin stayed his hand again. No shooting indoors. We'll take him at dawn. Alara stepped between them. You'll do no such thing. Burke's jaw tightened. He's a thief. He's a man. And he's under my roof. You'll respect that. Or what? She looked at him, then really looked, and there was something in her eyes that made him step back, though he would never admit it. Redin studied her in silence. Then he said, You've got a strange sense of loyalty for a woman alone. I know what it is to be hunted, she said softly. You take him, and the mountain will judge you. He gave a short laugh. The mountain judges no one. Only hunger and cold do. Tomas sank onto the stool, head bowed. Let them take me, Alara. You've done enough. But she shook her head. No, the storm hasn't spent itself. None of us leave until it does. Night deepened. The fire burned low, and the air grew thick with unease. The mountain men dozed in turns, rifles within reach. Alara sat awake, listening to the wind's dying cry and to the faint rasp of Tomas's breath. When dawn finally came, pale and cruel, the storm had passed. Redin rose, stretched, and shouldered his rifle. Time's up. Alara stepped in front of Tomas again. If you take him, you'll die before you reach the pass. You threatening us, woman? Burke sneered. I'm warning you. Redin's patience thinned. Stand aside. She didn't move. The room held its breath. Then Tomas spoke, voice hoarse but steady. She's right. You won't make it. There's a slide on the ridge, the snow's unstable. You try to cross, it'll bury you both. Then you come with us and show the safe way, Redin said. I can't, Tomas whispered. My legs won't carry me that far. Redin aimed the rifle. Then you'll carry lead instead. Before he could fire, Alara flung a log from the fire pit, striking his arm. The shot went wild, shattering the window. In that instant, Tomas lunged, knocking Burke off balance. The rifle clattered away. They struggled, boots scraping, curses flying. Redden swung his rifle butt toward Alara, but she caught the blow on her shoulder and drove a knife from her belt into his coat seam, not deep, but enough to make him drop the weapon. Burke tore free from Tomas's grasp and grabbed the younger man by the throat. Tomas gasped, fighting for air. Redden, wounded pride burning hotter than pain, raised his pistol. Enough! Alara shouted. If you kill him, you'll answer to me and to this mountain. Redden hesitated. The pistol trembled in his hand. Perhaps it was the way her voice filled the small cabin calm and final, like the snow before an avalanche. Perhaps he saw, for the first time, that there was something in her that would not break. The silence stretched. Then he lowered the weapon. Keep your thief, he said. He'll die soon enough, and maybe you with him. They gathered their things and left, their shapes swallowed by the cold gray morning. When they were gone, Alara sank to the floor, the knife slipping from her fingers. Tomas crawled to her side. You should have let them take me. She shook her head. They would have killed you anyway. And me, for standing in their path. Why risk it? She looked toward the window, where the snow was falling again, soft now, almost tender. Because the mountain watches. It remembers who shelters life and who ends it. He said nothing. They sat together in the fading light, the silence no longer hostile but deep and human. By nightfall, Tomas's fever broke. Alara tended him with broth and herbs, her movements slow but sure. When he woke at midnight, he found her staring into the fire. What will you do when they return? He asked. They won't, she said. The ridge will claim them. He didn't argue. He only watched the flames dance on her face, seeing in her not frailty but something older, something born of the mountain itself. Outside, the wind rose again, whispering through the pines, carrying the echo of Redden's voice and the hollow promise he'd left behind. You'll satisfy us both. But in the end, it was not the men who were satisfied. It was the mountain, and the woman who had learned its law that mercy and fury are the same hand, and both must sometimes strike to keep the balance whole.